Okay. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. How did you sleep last night?
Ah, let's get right into it. I actually had a surprisingly good sleep, a little shorter, but very restorative.
Is that because you're on vacation?
Yeah, right. Beautiful. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if it's that I'm on vacation or not. The night before was almost the opposite. So
Okay.
I think there is not necessarily reliability around my sleep these days.
But have you found a pattern of things that help or things that hurt? I know you said one thing to me once is that you can't do anything active before sleep or else it throws you off, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely learned a few things that seem to go into a pattern and that help. But let's talk about that maybe in a little bit. Um, how was your sleep actually?
Interestingly, so I have an Aura ring, by the way, so I track my sleep, and which makes me a little bit more geeky about it. But I woke up, my sleep varies every day, and this morning I usually have trouble sleeping in. I went through a phase for a year or maybe two where I would wake up at 5 a.m. on the dot. I
Mm.
could not sleep. It didn't matter what time I fell asleep. So I tried very hard to go to sleep early so that I can get more sleep. And the sleep that you get before midnight is better quality sleep. This is what the research says. So anyway, I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, but this is a little bit more unusual because I've been sleeping in. And for me, sleeping in is sleeping to 7 or 6:30. That's sleeping in for me at this age, at 53. Um, but I woke up, even though I actually went to bed late. I went to bed late. I rode my bike really late yesterday, but I woke up and I felt better than I had the night before, where I slept 8 hours.
Mhm, mhm,
And I was trying to figure out why that was.
mhm.
And the thing that I came up with is that I did intermittent fasting the night before. Last night I did intermittent fasting.
In what
And
regard, can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean with you did intermittent fasting the night before?
yeah, so intermittent fasting, good call. Intermittent fasting is when it's also called time restricted eating, which is actually a better way to describe it. And it just means that you have an eating window. You don't graze all day. You don't wake up and eat and then eat before bed. You have a window and, you pick the window, but, some people it's a 12-hour window. But you'd be surprised how many people eat outside of that 12, they're eating all day. They're eating when the whole time that they're awake.
Culture
So,
of snacking, right?
what's that?
Culture of snacking.
It's a culture of snacking. Yeah. Anyway, and eating TV and snacking, bedtime snack, those kinds of things. I just find that obviously everyone's different, and some people have such dysregulated cortisol that they need a little something before bed, to help them with their blood sugar. But it's just me and my body. I notice that I feel the best when I don't eat for 3 or 4 hours before I go to sleep.
Mhm.
And and that's my usual. But I went on vacation and we didn't start eating dinner until 8, which
Mhm.
is ridiculous for me. And I was in Italy, so they have later dinners, just like Argentina. And it was really a disaster for me, because by 8 I've already been, done with dinner for an hour or two,
Right.
usually in my usual life. And then I come back from vacation and for some reason even though I did not like this schedule, I just kept eating at night.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've been waking up really foggy. And why, for me in particular, it's not good to eat at night is because I have a sluggish liver. And when you eat at night, the liver is digesting. And when it digests, it can't clean itself out. So then I wake up and I think the fog is from the fact that my liver is just working too hard and didn't have any time to do any self-cleaning. So for me, intermittent fasting is a good way to lose weight and belly fat. And it's a good way to like take care of my liver. Um, but I do seem to wake up earlier when I don't eat at night.
Yeah.
When I don't eat 3 or 4 hours before bed.
I mean, waking up at 5 if you have had like a good night's sleep, right, is not necessarily the worst thing to do, right? In some cultures, there is this auspicious time frame between 4 and 6 where you wake up, you have a moment to come to your senses, and then maybe do a meditation practice or a movement practice, and have some time for yourself before you venture out into the world. So inherently, it's not necessarily a bad sign if you wake up naturally around that time. I also would say for me personally, I prefer that if I've had a good night's sleep, right? If I'm lying awake till 1 a.m. in the morning and then I wake up at 5, I more or less curse that time. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think it has a lot of benefits, right?
Yeah, it's actually nice. You have a lot of time to yourself in the morning, and that you can use however you want before the rest of the world kind of wakes up.
Yeah, and you can gently wake up too, right? You don't need to open up your eyes and, right away jump into the hustle and bustle of our lifestyle these days, right? Like getting up, getting ready, getting out of the door, and being like push, 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 push. You can ease yourself a little bit into this, and even reflect upon how was my night, how was my sleep, how do I feel actually, and where am I in my system? What do I need for this day, right? Can I push, or is today more a day where I'm like, oh, I have to be a little bit more careful and more sensitive about my needs, right?
It's so funny because the Aura Ring tells me it has a readiness score, but I think reflecting yourself and connecting to your body is better. And I think that I think you told me you started a practice of morning pages, so that's a good time to reflect with writing. Morning pages is you just get up and you just write, write, write for 3 pages, which is really hard. But I have started and I've been very successful in the last 3 days, and it's been very challenging for me. So I'm very proud of myself. Waiting an hour to check my phone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Waiting an hour to check my phone. And what I do instead is I kind of distract myself with journaling.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It's been really, really good. I also, another thing that I've done to help my sleep is, and this is a Huberman thing. He has a podcast. He's a professor at Stanford. He suggests, or he popularized it. A lot of other people suggest it too, of having your caffeine 90 minutes after waking because your cortisol is like starting to naturally go up. And if you do caffeine, it'll just shoot it up and it'll disrupt the natural cycle. So, that's something I had to teach myself to do is because I would wake up and I'd feel groggy and I'd have my caffeine and then that would wake me up. So just being okay with being groggy and being slow and that journaling. And yeah, I mean it's been helping. The things that have helped me with my sleep have been well, I'm a menopausal age, so taking bioidentical hormones has helped me. has helped me sleep, the progesterone in particular, but estrogen also helps you sleep. But if you're not of that age and then hormones are not an issue, magnesium seems to be the all around sleep mineral. So one of my tips and tricks is to sometimes you can take a supplement and you don't absorb it because of your digestion. So taking it topically, I like to rub a cream on my legs, the bottoms of my feet, sorry. And then last night I did not. And I do see a correspondence with how late I sleep and how well I sleep to how if I rub the cream on or
I would
not.
I would like to kind of there are so many tools out there, right? And sleep is such a hot topic. It's on everybody's mind, and there are so many recommendations from how you start the day influencing the following night's sleep to what you do before you get to sleep and everything in between. I want to go back to one thing you mentioned in the beginning, and that's the time before going to bed and not eating for 3 to 4 hours before you hit the pillow. There's another thing that happens supposedly at that if you are creating that habit of time restricted feeding that is supposedly detoxifying your brain. So if you give your whole system that window of not having too much food in your digestive tract for three, I've heard in the meantime, at least 4 hours before you go to sleep, and then you are hitting the deep sleep phase more in the early phases of your whole night's sleep, then this is kind of advantageous for your system to be able to clean the brain, to literally clean the brain of the slug, right? That might even be responsible for causing brain fog when you're waking up, right? So it has a correlation directly to the system of the brain and not only to the digestive system, which we know has
Mhm.
like huge benefit to have this window of fasting.
What
Um,
do you think about the blue light at night? Because that's also a thing.
yeah, I have had the biggest pushbacks actually with my clients when we started to talk to create a sleep conducive environment, and part of that is getting all the electronics out of the bedroom and being mindful of what you're doing in regard to feeding yourself with news, uh, social media, movies, whatever it is. So the context of what you're feeding yourself, what you're feeding your system, and also then the blue light, right? That is supposed to disturb your circadian rhythm, right? And
And your melatonin, right?
right, that which is part of your circadian rhythm.
Mhm.
So again, Huberman was the one who, popularized the whole morning light and moving with the sun rays, right, which gets warmer and more in the reddish tone towards the evening, right, sunset and the golden hours at 5-ish p.m. So I think it is definitely helpful for myself. I have classes that have the blue light blockers. I don't know how,
Yeah.
blocking
Like
they
rocking
are, but
glasses.
they at least soften the blow a little bit. And I'm definitely trying to ban social media as soon as I'm in bed. I'm like, okay, phone, yes, but no social media. And utilize the the tools these electronics in the meantime have built in, right? So you can change it to a more advantageous. So I'm always negotiating with myself as well as with my clients to what is definitely important for you, and what can you go without, and what do you need. So
Yeah, and I just want to mention just iFlux, I believe, is the app that turns your phone into something like it's golden and orangey,
mhm,
and
mhm,
it knows how to do that when the sun sets.
yeah.
So that's helpful for melatonin. There's also, I think cortisol, the reason sleep is such a hot topic right now is everyone's cortisol is out of control.
Oh,
And I think that's a couple of things that I could recommend for cortisol. We might have talked about this in a previous recording, is the long out breath.
yeah. Yes, yes.
So
We
the long out breath, and then also hypnosis.
yeah.
Hypnosis and also a yoga that it's a guided meditation yoga where it's not active at all. You're just laying down and you're listening. And it's a somatic, it takes you into a journey around your body. So you're really connecting to your body. And when you do that, your nervous system goes out of fight or flight and into rest and digest.
Right.
So
It's called yoga nidra, right?
Mhm.
Or
Yoga
what
nidra.
what some people also refer to as non-sleep deep rest, right?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
I
right.
kind of like this. It's not very good for the recording, but the sun is coming in.
The
Oh.
sunshine's coming in to reset our circadian rhythm so we sleep better tonight.
I love it. You can really play with it. So this is recording conducive, and this is fun. Okay, I need to change it a little bit. I'm not, as you see, I am in a beautiful setting. I'm in Murnau currently, for my vacation. And I don't have like all the ins and outs of this apartment, and I could close the window sheet covers, but I don't want to because it's
No,
beautiful
it's
morning.
sunlight.
Beautiful light.
Beautiful sunlight.
Yes.
Speaking of sunlight, the other thing, like getting electronics out, and that's always a battle with my husband because he doesn't want his phone out of the bedroom. But having it completely dark, we finally put up blackout curtains.
Mhm.
And that has made a huge difference. One of the best sleeps I've had when we stayed in an Airbnb in Krakow, Poland, and the bedroom was in the basement, so there were no windows. It was just a basement with brick walls, no light. It was pitch black, and I slept in until like 7:30 there. That was such good sleep, and it was cool. So temperature is also important, temperature and light.
Yeah. Yeah, let's collect a few things that we randomly kind of brought up. Let's give it a little bit of structure and see if we can kind of summarize a bit the the tools we have already mentioned, and maybe expand a little bit on the ones we don't. Do we want to start with the morning, or do we want to start with the evening for more restful sleep, or at least
Well, they say
chance
that it
for
starts
rest,
with, sorry?
or at least to have the chance for restful sleep?
I think morning because that they say that it starts in the morning, right? When you get up, you have to go get some light in the first like 60 minutes, go outside, get some light. And apparently you can't do it through a window because it blocks the UV. You have to go outside and get some light. Now, this is easy to do in the summer, but hard to do in the winter, especially in Germany, because here, where I am living in Germany, in Berlin, in the winter, the light doesn't, when there even is light, it never even really gets to sunshine, but it doesn't get light until 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Or even nine sometimes. And
Yeah.
like the thing about that is, even if it's cloudy and overcast, you still get the benefits of being outside.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that.
So it doesn't need to be like blue sky, bright sun, California beach weather. It doesn't need to be like that. There can be
Okay.
overcast, can be cloudy. So even that is helpful. But it's true. I mean, if the sun only rises at 8:30 or 9 a.m., you are probably not sleeping until 8. So
No.
you have it, right? But
Yeah.
there is this trick of the sad lamp. Season.
Yes, or the red light.
Yeah.
The sad lamp I've tried before, and it's never worked for me because it's like this LED light almost.
Mhm.
And I look at it and I think this is my biggest nightmare. And I don't know how, how other people like it, but this light and me do not get along. So I can't do that kind of light. It's way too bright and obnoxious for me. It has nothing to do with sunlight. But the thing that I do like and the thing that I actually use at night is red light.
Right. That's again the night. Let's stay with the
In the
moon.
morning too, you can use it in the morning as
You
well, you
can.
know?
I would put a pin on that, and I don't know about it. I don't know what kind of frequencies they have. But it's a red light, right? And supposedly the reddish tone of light is more conducive for night. If we want to go with the circadian rhythm and the effects, it might
Mm-hmm.
have like a soothing effect on your system that might help you with easing into the day and the warmth that has, right? Also, the winters in Germany can be cold and the light is really like
It's
um
chasing you. Can't get away.
kind of like we are talking about light. Let's manifest it a little bit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So okay, so let's see if that works better.
So I heard about why the red light is good at night in particular. It's because our ancestors would sit by the fire at night.
Right. So again, let's pause that discussion for the evening and stay with the morning. So
Yeah.
besides sunlight and getting out, you also get kind of active a little bit. What else seems to help in the morning for people to set up the evening or the night?
Well, as we mentioned, delaying caffeine for 90 minutes. And what else?
Yeah, there are many things that you can do in the morning that seem to help people setting up their days and nights. It a moment of reflection might be a good thing, right? So for sure, have all your tools, right? Have your Aura Ring, have your iPhone, have your Fitbit or however it's called, or Whoop, or there are so many tools you can use to track your sleep. But my experience is that it is really helpful for people to learn to trust and gauge their own sensations of their bodies and systems.
Mhm.
So having a practice of taking a few minutes, doesn't need to be much, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, to kind of sit in quiet, reflect on how was my sleep, how do I feel right now, what's coming up throughout the day, to not having that jolt, not having like that running over your innate needs right away is helpful.
Oh,
um
one thing I wanted to mention that I just started doing and is not checking my phone or
yeah,
email for
yeah,
an hour.
yeah,
Give myself an hour without technology, without the outside world intervening, and
yeah.
have much
and
more
and
time to.
again, if they are like people saying like, are you crazy, I cannot not check my phone for an hour, right? take a look what you can, right? And even if it's just 10 minutes, if you're used to waking up, opening your eyes, and the first thing is like grabbing your phone, maybe you can make a point of putting the phone maybe somewhere where you have to get out of bed first to get to the phone, or say like, okay, the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'm not taking my phone, right? So always with these things, if these recommendations come from us or from any other part where you hear it, always make a point to make it work for you, right? What can you incorporate? Not overwhelm your system or yourself right away again with these to-dos. What are
Yeah, believe me, I have the hardest time with that. So you're preaching to the choir right now, and for some reason, it's been very difficult the last few years, and probably because when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel great, and I just want that distraction. But I find that for some reason, going slow and delaying 10 minutes, delaying 15 minutes doesn't work. I need that hour. And then after, this is what I just noticed after that hour, and obviously everyone's different. After that hour, I don't even want to check it. It's
Mhm.
like I get over the trigger, and the trigger takes time. It takes time for me to wake up
Yeah.
and feel better.
Yeah. So what are you doing within that hour? What else are you doing in the morning?
Yeah, well, I've been a lifelong journaler, and for some reason lately, I know probably what the reasons are, but I have not been journaling, and it's strange because this has always been a part of my life. So I decide you have to always fill that space. So I just open up my journal, and I start writing, and that's been good for me. Some people can meditate. I'm not awake enough to do that. Some people can move. I'm not awake enough to do that. So I think in the morning I just need stillness. So I journal, and
Or journaling can be another thing. And journaling can look, you know, different for everybody. So you mentioned the morning pages, right? That you have like a downstream of thoughts that flow through your hand more or less for either 3 pages, 1 page, 5 minutes, or an hour, whatever it again would look like for yourself. It also could be a gratitude journal, or just,
Mhm.
writing a brief sentence, or even just a word of gratitude. There are different ways and different prompts out there also where you can find inspiration. Movement you mentioned, right? Some people might benefit from movement. I'm still struggling with what I'm doing first. So I'm definitely doing a 10-minute meditation fairly early on after waking up. I started the traditional morning pages beginning of the summer, which also was a struggle physically and mentally. But it's a practice, and with all the practices, it gets better. And I'm brave it in the meantime too. But I'm still struggling with where do I put my movement practice in. I'm doing something that is called morning form, and it's just a 15-minute mixture out of yoga, out of there are some qigong movements in there, and some breath work. And this combination of 15 minutes, I truly enjoy. I started that this year, actually, in January, and now I'm struggling kind of like where to place it, before the journaling or after. So I'm going back and forth between these two. And I'm not so good with my caffeine. I'm still doing a coffee. maybe 30 minutes after waking up, but it feels like I'm getting up and I'm getting my coffee. Which also has to do with my struggle with my cortisol because I'm kind of flatlining currently, unfortunately, but that seems to be really something I need. And I also enjoy still. I love the taste of coffee, black coffee. I love the smell of it. I'm a coffee girl. But then
Do
I'm
you do
ready
lemon?
for starting the day. Hmm?
Do you do lemon water?
I've tried that also for a while. I've tried lemon water. I've tried the medical medium uh,
Celery juice?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried all of these, and I have to say, not for me.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
tried to want. I would like to want it, and but I also didn't feel like these real benefits like I felt when I started my morning form or when I started the morning pages. Like I
Mm.
felt tangible benefits. And with the lemon water and with the celery juice or even cucumber juice, which I actually like a little bit better, it's if I do it or not, I don't feel a big difference.
Yeah, and that matters. And that matters. I find that when I have lemon water, and I don't necessarily want it, but I find that when I have lemon water, it stops my body wanting my morning caffeine beverage. And I drink matcha. I haven't drank coffee for a long time, but I that's my little caffeine addiction. And the thing that I want about the matcha is I put cream in it, but it's usually non-dairy cream. Um, so it's like that creaminess, that hot creamy, and I so it disrupts the acid of the lemon disrupts my body's want for something creamy. So that's just one of the things that works for me, but everyone's different. But I want to know from you really quick, what were the benefits of the morning pages that you experienced?
Actually, I also struggle a little bit with uh, fogginess. I never called it fogginess because I never knew what that means. But what I called my morning brain was always mush, and I think that's what people mean with fogginess. Um, so I seem to retain a lot of water in my head. I have like my eyes are swollen like crazy in the morning. I've always had that, like from baby on, bless you.
Thank you.
And my brain feels like a mushroom. Like there is a lot of water, and that's also why I enjoy my coffee in the morning as a diuretic,
Diuretic.
right? Like
Diuretic. Yeah.
it feels like I have my coffee, and then my brain starts to kind of dry up a little bit, and then it starts working again. So the electrodes and electronics in there are kind of firing again, and before it was kind of like soggy underwater. Mush, everything a little bit toned down and slower. And I have realized that with, uh, you know, a 15, 20 minutes into the morning pages, my brain starts to relax. It's a physical sensation of um, and the brain is not a muscle, but it feels like my brain is relaxing like a muscle after a massage.
Nice. Nice. Lovely.
That is the benefit I feel with the morning pages.
They say it's a form of meditation. So, and I get it. I get it. And it's a flow and
Not
yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's pulling teeth, um, actually. But
Sometimes meditation, regular meditation is pulling
true,
teeth.
true too, true too.
Yeah.
to the
One
point.
of the things we just talked about caffeine, and one of the things that I don't think we mentioned is that caffeine, but this is obvious, but caffeine should not be consumed after what, noon?
Yeah, again, that's an interesting topic, right? We know in the meantime that there are fast and slow metabolizers of caffeine,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
it's a genetic trait. And
Mhm.
you can get tested if you want to, but you also know it, right? Like if you are someone who is like, I can have my espresso after dinner and I'm fine, right? By all means continue, right? These are kind of benchmarks that not necessarily work for everybody. So generally speaking, the recommendation is to stop after lunch time, 12, 2 p.m., kind of make a hard cut with caffeine to help your sleep, because the way caffeine works in your system, it can be lingering in your system for a very, very long time. So you want to give your body the most chance to have metabolized most of the caffeine once you're going to bed. And the general recommendation is latest 2 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, and one other thing that I want to add, this is probably going to be my last point, is we touched on this, but usually cortisol issues are the reason that most people can't sleep. And managing your cortisol is something you do during the day. You do it by, you have to eat regularly. You can't go for long periods of time before meals, because if you get super hungry and your blood sugar drops, cortisol goes up. So you want to manage your cortisol that way. You want to make sure you get enough salt and sodium,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Enough
so yeah,
protein.
the cortisol is a huge topic, especially in our world of constant stress responses. We are triggered in this climate on a permanent base, right? Which our system is not designed to do. I am using the word system today a lot. I'm doing a course on mindset, um, and I'm having system thinking in my mind. So I'm apologizing. We are not systems. We are human beings. Um, just want to realize that and acknowledge that. So the cortisol is a very, I think, worth to have a full conversation about, because
Absolutely.
it's what I'm dealing currently the most, where I'm struggling with my cortisol response and the lack thereof, actually. And the misfiring of the cortisol, where we oftentimes have this heightened cortisol at night, and so we cannot fall asleep, right? Which is then also something that we should mention briefly on our nighttime routines that might help the cortisol to stay low and supportive for falling asleep and staying asleep. That's for sure. And I think the biggest thing you asked me, we started our conversation that way, where you asked me if I discovered patterns for myself that are helpful. And I have to say that um, honoring the first, what they call sleep bus, um, and getting on this bus is probably the most effective tool on a regular base, on a looking back over the last year, where I'm really struggling even with insomnia at certain moments in my life. That helps. Like with everything else, with yoga nidra, with breath work, which are all contributing to lowering your cortisol, right? Which can be utilized like instantaneously. Breath work and that kind of stuff has an instantaneous effect. but to create a rhythm, a pattern, a sleep pattern routine of um, honoring your your natural clock.
Impulse, yeah.
Impulse.
So
Yeah,
the sleep bus is like when you first start getting sleepy, go, start getting to bed and
yeah,
doing,
winding
getting ready.
down.
Yeah, getting
Right,
ready for bed. I
right.
know that a lot of, especially young moms, when they put the baby to bed, they don't want to go to bed necessarily because it's like, this is me time. And they're like, they're exhausted. They need the sleep. And the moms are, especially new moms, are sleep deprived. But they're like, oh, but I just want to do this thing for me that I like to do. Like,
And not only young moms, right? Like also like a lot of people who have multiple responsibilities, let's put it that way, throughout the day, right? Like if you have a full-time job, you're coming home, you wanna do sports, you're going to the gym later in the day, you wanna meet friends, you wanna socialize, might wanna go to the movies or theater, right? Like you have multiple interests, you want to be active and you want to honor also these impulses and these things to do, then the day only has 24 hours, right? So you
yeah,
are overgoing your first impulse of going to bed and getting tired, and creating that so-called second wind, right, where the cortisol spikes again, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can go out now and have some nightcaps with my friends. That gives another topic, right? Alcohol and heavy food before bedtime. With the food we mentioned already, the coffee we mentioned already, or caffeine. But then the alcohol is another point, right? Where you might think
if
you've,
I drink, I will fall asleep fast, but I
but
will wake up in the middle of the night and I will be hot and
yeah,
it's miserable.
yeah,
So
it
yeah,
is
I stopped.
miserable. Yeah, and everybody, right? Like the liver detoxifies the body between like 1 and 3 a.m. And that's when
Correct.
a lot of people are then kind of, like, yeah, I'm waking up every night at 2 a.m. and I don't know why, and I'm feeling nervous. And yeah,
It's the liver and it's cortisol. So it's not easy to work on those things, but like at least knowing your roadmap to what you need to focus on is important.
yeah. Do you think it is a good moment to wrap up our
I
conversation?
do. I do. You read my mind.
Yeah, we are getting there. We are getting there. As always, it was a true pleasure, Angela. And
Likewise, always fun.
yeah, and I hope everybody who has a chance to go through the whole conversation with us, connect with us, make a comment, ask questions. Maybe you have tips and tools, right? That are like the golden ticket for you. Share them. We all want to learn from each other. That's part of the intent of this conversation, anyway. So keep it real, keep it simple, and see what we can learn together.
You.
Bye.
Bye.